I honestly don't feel like there's anything more important than this, than the simplicity of coming back to the present moment, of feeling your breath, of tuning into your senses, of being so deeply in your body, in your life, that you remember what it really means to be alive. Here, now. Let this moment be so sacred, a remembering of who you were before the world told you who you should be. I see you. I feel you. Welcome to the FREYA Podcast. Welcome home. Hello, everyone. I haven't been here for like almost a year. And recently I've been contemplating how I want to continue with FREYA, how I want to continue bringing the wisdom and the transformation in the most simple way possible. And yesterday I got a clear sign that it had to be in part through podcasts. And as someone who's just recently started her business, or more who's started really putting her love into the business, her energy, and becoming more of an entrepreneur, I have been faced with many challenges of respecting my boundaries and my energy in this world of entrepreneurship that I was always attracted to, but hadn't realized these challenges that we were presented with. So, as someone who works for herself, it's hard to have the boundaries that we have in a work setting where we know that, we're working from 9 to 5 and then it's done. You don't go home with your computer, or at least I didn't when I used to work for a corporate job. I would be able to just like disconnect, but it wasn't the way for me at all. For me, what I've been trying to balance is having my work on my phone and having a list of things that I want to create, but only so much time in a day, and as well as being a mom, as well as being a girlfriend, as well as being a woman who wants to enjoy her life and take care of herself. There's balance and ways that I want to do this, and I don't want to do it in a way that ever restricts my well-being, because FREYA is me. The energy of FREYA is the energy that I feel when I'm connected to my inner goddess, and that is a feeling that I felt many times in my life, and that I try as often as possible to be in that frequency. And when I come out of it, FREYA is impacted by that, and you're impacted by that, and everyone is impacted by that who's listening. And when I'm in my truth, when I'm in balance, when I find grounded presence in my life, that's the only way FREYA will expand and be what she's meant to be. And so, yeah, I've had to be faced with a couple hard truths in the past couple months of losing myself in things that didn't necessarily bring me energy, true happiness, And that's what I'm going to talk about today. My realization with autumn. As I was walking outside, I take walks every day. I try to take walks every day. I'm a mom as well, so there are days that I don't. There are days that I bring my boys, but I always try to see the sun first thing in the morning, to have that light in my eyes. And I think that that's a big part of why we are imbalanced as women, is because we're so disconnected from nature. We're so disconnected from the simplicity of sun, of nourishment, of warmth, of presence, of being. And for me, this is a sacred practice that I try to implement as often as possible, to go outside and get the morning sunlight. So I started walking. I was alone this time, and I was just looking at nature and, going through some stuff like we all do in our lives, and questioning, being a little bit more in my head. And I just took a pause and looked at the trees, and I saw how everything was transforming right now, how the leaves were changing colors, they were falling, the sun is getting up later, going to bed earlier. You can feel the change of temperature, you can feel the change of seasons. We're in transition. And I've always found that nature is such a beautiful mirror of what I'm experiencing in my life. And in this season of transition, I've realized that I've grown a lot. I've grown a lot, and I'm very proud of that growth. And a lot of that has to do with the inner healing and breath work that I'm here offering on FREYA. But there's also a part of me that's a Taurus, and I really like when things are stable, when things are in my comfort zone, when I know where I'm going, where I can plan exactly what I'm going to do, to not plan, but where I know where I'm going. Like, I like the known. I like what's tangible and here now. And it's really hard for me to let myself go into the unknown, even if that's what my heart is telling me to do. And I've gotten really, really better at that in the last year, because I also have my Sagittarius, which is my ascendant. And I feel like I'm constantly finding balance between my Taurus and my Sagittarius. If you guys are into astrology, Sagittarius is all about adventure and stepping outside of your comfort zone and, travel and all that. And then Taurus is like home, like grounded energy of stability and comfort and food and just like hot tea and beauty and all those things. So I feel like I'm a very 50-50 mix of those two. And so yeah, I was finding myself I've been in a transition for a couple of months now, 2 to 3 months. I recently moved into a new house, started like, really into this new home that I've never lived in Quebec City. Well, I have a long time ago, but I've been on the south side for more than 10 years. Now I'm in Quebec, moving my family here, creating, just our little sacred, beautiful home that I'm so happy to be in. But it's a transition, and there's a lot of things that have changed in the last year for me. So it's like I'm constantly in transition, and I know it's beautiful, and I know it's amazing to be doing all this and to have these beautiful opportunities. But my Taurus doesn't really like it, and doesn't always really like it. And so there's a bunch of things that have been coming up, triggers that I've been living. And as you grow and you evolve, you see triggers differently. And so now I was triggered that morning for, I don't know what reason, it doesn't matter. But I realized that the first thing that I do when I'm triggered is I get here. I get in my head. I try to control. I try to think of solutions. My brain actually has a way of bringing me the worst case scenarios because of, past triggers and traumas that I've experienced as a human being that are still there and that I'm working through every single day of my life. And I realized in that moment when I was looking at the trees that, my God, how how different would nature be if trees didn't lose their leaves in autumn? And how different would it be if the cycles, if nature resented or avoided the cycles of the seasons? And I thought to myself, wow, it's just walking up the mountain and seeing the leaves on the ground, and the trees are still there. They're grounded, they're rooted, but they're losing everything that makes them who they are. When we look at them in the summertime, it's like these beautiful green trees, and then they're just like, they turn yellow, and then they turn orange, and then they turn red. And when they turn red and they're on fire, that's when they let go. And it just made me realize, oh my gosh, that fire that we feel sometimes when we're anxious, when we're stressed, when we're angry, when we're in survival mode, and we're just like clinging on to what we think we need to do or how we need to be in order to stay the same tree. And I just thought to myself, wow, what if I just let that go? What if I just allow myself to feel that and let it go? And that's what I've been doing. That's what Freya is all about. The work, the breath work, the coming back to your inner goddess. This is what it's all about. And it was just such a beautiful realization of, wow, I am not the woman I used to be. And the way that I see things and the way that I react to the triggers in my life I'm really proud of, because it shows how much growth I've had in the last years. And I wanted to share that because I think that we're resistant a lot to change. Because we don't know where we're going. We don't know where this will lead us. We don't know what's going to happen in winter, in spring, and summer of next year. We have no idea. And when we have the courage to let go of the things that no longer serve us, our leaves, where we feel empty for a while. And empty is so beautiful. It's the void, it's that darkness of anything could happen, unlimited possibilities. I always say in my workshops in Divine, how when we plant a seed in the soil, it's our dream, it's our vision. We plant it in the soil. It's really dark there. It's moist. It requires time before that seed sprouts. And that darkness and that void and that uncomfortableness is what we avoid. But in reality, it's birth, it's creation, it's where everything starts. And we numb that, we repress it, we distract ourselves, and we stay in patterns that are no longer aligned with this new version of ourselves. And it's like, I see this like little fish trying to swim upstream, instead of going with the current of life and the flow of life and trusting that life is bringing you exactly where you need to go and bringing you with the situations and the triggers that you're able to handle in that moment. Because if they weren't there, then if they're being presented to you, it's because you're ready to transform them. You're ready to feel them. But instead of doing that, we're like swimming against the current of life, and we're wondering why we're so exhausted, why we're so overwhelmed, why we can't like sit still and be comfortable in our bodies with our breath in the present moment, because this is what we're doing. We're just swimming against this new version of ourselves. And what I've been sensing in me right now in the last couple weeks is, wow, have I gotten better at softening, at surrendering, at trusting, at opening, at the actual qualities that it takes to be in alignment with our hearts, with our bodies, with our truth. And there's a lot of strength required in that, in the process of surrendering, in the process of opening, in the process of being vulnerable, in the process of feeling the sensitivity and the feelings and the beingness. There's so much strength. But we value in our society the strength of hustle, the strength of doing, the strength of forgetting ourselves completely, of not loving ourselves because of the things we think we need to do, or the person we need to be, or the ego that we need to live in. It's like, that's not what's important. And it takes so much strength, but a different kind of strength, not the strength that we think we need. It's the strength that we don't have the courage to open up to. The power, I'd say, the power that resides within us, within our body, within our breath, that we don't have the courage to feel because we're living out of here, out of automation, out of survival, out of what we think we've always needed to do in order to survive. And then we end up alone with ourselves at night and feel either completely disconnected, completely wired, completely out of breath, completely confused. And I say this with so much love because I have felt so many of those rebirths in my life, but those rebirths are what enable us to grow taller, that tree, to grow so much taller, so much stronger. But we have to have the courage to let go of those leaves and to trust that spring is coming, that summer will come, that the sun will rise again, and that we are so supported in these cycles, in these transitions, if we have the courage to follow our hearts, to follow what feels true to you. And the first step in doing that is getting to know yourself. And that's what I love to bring to people through FREYA, is the only way you're going to feel like you are exactly where you need to be in your life is if you start getting to know yourself truly, if you start sitting with yourself, if you start feeling those emotions or those discomforts that keep you completely disconnected from yourself. It's like when you have the courage to come and invest beautiful energy into yourself, into your body, into your life, into the present moment, you stop reaching for instant gratification. You stop reaching for approval, for external validation, for external status in your job or in your role, or needing to be this way to prove this to someone, or like you get out of all that. And you realize that that doesn't make you happy at all. It doesn't bring you true happiness. It doesn't bring you love. It doesn't bring you self-love. It doesn't bring you the validation you need in order to step into this new tree, this new being, this new higher version of yourself. And yeah, I wanted to speak on that. And I'm going to end this with one practical tool that you can use in order to stay true to yourself in moments of doubt, fear, stress, anxiety, triggers. So when you feel that trigger, when you feel like, oh, someone is triggering you or something, or like you're sitting with yourself and you just feel that ball of fire, or that tightness in your chest, or that whatever it is, it could be the smallest thing or the biggest thing that your mind makes it out to be. It's all just energy. Just leave it at that. It's all just energy. And my tip for you is to pause. to take a deep breath. And I would suggest extending your exhale. So inhale for a count of 4 through the nose. Exhale for a count of 7 through the mouth. Do that 3 times, 5 times, 10 times until you find more balance, less overwhelming emotion. Find your center, calm, grounded center. And then tell yourself, what a gift. And this comes from David Guillaume, who is someone that I love listening to, that has said this phrase in one of his podcasts. What a gift that I'm being presented this trigger. But instead of reacting like the normal thing you would do, reaching out for food, reaching out for your phone, reaching out for a drink, reaching out for validation, or help me, calling someone. Like when you operate from fear, you're operating from a lower state. And when you take a sacred pause and you breathe and you exhale and you tell yourself, wow, what a gift to realize this trigger, and that life is presenting me with this trigger in order for me to respond in a different way, in my highest way, in my safe, grounded, highest version of myself. Like, how would I respond? And then when you do those deep breaths and you come back and you feel a little bit more centered, even if it's not 100%, that's okay. Might take a bit of time. When you feel more grounded and your breath has slowed down and your heart rate has slowed down, then ask yourself, what would I do if I, in this moment, had everything I needed? So if I was already whole, if I was already loved, if I was already successful, if I was already healthy, if I was already, like, whatever it is that you feel that's triggering, bring it back into you. What would I do if I felt? What would I do in my safest, grounded, most loving, healthy, vibrant version of myself? Just ask yourself that question. And if the response doesn't come right away, then you don't need to respond right away. We can take a break, we can take a night, we can take a week to feel into it. And if you still feel like reacting the way you would normally react, well, at least you've had the awareness to pause and realize that this is only a test, that life is testing you to see if you're ready to evolve into a new version of yourself that would respond differently. And when you connect to this whole being, this person who's already whole, who already has it all the things that you hold in your heart, all the desires that you want, you already have them in another timeline. It's already yours if you want it. But when you tap into that version of yourself and you say, I'm already whole now, what would that version of yourself do? Because in reality, it's not when you get what you want that you change. It's when you embody the version of yourself that already has it all, that the things come to you. And we think it's the other way around. We think it's like, oh, when I get the job, oh, when I get this, or when I get the relationship, or when I get the health, I'll do this. It's like, no, you have to become this person and react from a way in which that person would react in order to get to where you want to go. So that's my tip for you. Pause, breathe, extended exhale through the mouth. Find your center and ask yourself, how would I respond if I was already whole? Because I am. Because you are. All right. that's it. So I wish you guys a beautiful day. If you like this, if it made you feel something, comment, share, whatever. Just get it out there. It's really helpful for me that people share so that other people can feel this and be inspired by this and just transform in whatever way. So, yeah, just share the light, comment how you're feeling, and I will see you soon. All right. Bye.